Okay, so in this video, what I'm going to be doing is talking about writing and submitting the annotated bibliographies. For this paper, you're going to be writing two annotated bibliographies, and there's several resources that have been provided. The first one that I'm going to recommend is not talking specifically about writing the annotated bibliography, but it's talking about the bibliographic information. So that's the annotated, or that's the APA Citation Basics paper that was given out on February 14th. You can find more information from the Purdue OWL APA Citations. They have a website that gives you some more information about that. And then also the library. The website themselves can also be a great way for you to get the correct citation for your paper. And that is going to be just something I want to mention. I'm not going to spend too much time on that one, but I just want to make sure that you know you have that at your disposal in case you're unsure about how to make those references. The next part is I want to draw your attention to is the document that is called Week 7, Day 1, Thesis Statements, Annotated Bibliography. So this was a two-sided paper that was given out in class on March 5th, and that the first part is not relevant, but the second part is going to be relevant because it's going to give us the instructions and the basics for how we're going to be writing the annotated bibliography. The next document I want to point out to you is given out week 7, day 2, and that is going to be something called paper documents or paper 2 documents. And there's a lot of documents in there, but what's going to be really important for us is the rubric for the annotated bibliographies. So that includes the information about how each part is graded, so we can refer to that and see how helpful that is for our understanding of the assignment, and also think about how in the future we can use rubrics to help us understand assignments better. The last thing I want to point out is the annotated bibliography supplement. So that's going to be a document that I sent out in email on March 16th. You can also find this in the Living Reader, and it's also posted on Blackboard. So let's just first track these documents down and kind of refresh your memory so you can kind of remember what they look like, because all the information's out there and it's just kind of seeing like, okay, how do I put this all into place so that I'm doing this assignment correctly? So first of all, I'm going to point out that if we're logged into Blackboard and we go to the course documents portion of the website, we're going to be in Unit 2, and we're going to scroll and we can remember, again, I'm skipping over the APA Citations Basics, but you can find that in Unit 1, and you can find that in there. But I want to go ahead and track these documents down, the thesis statements, annotated bibliography, and then the paper 2 documents, and then also the annotated bibliography supplement. So you can find, if we scroll down, can find right here, let's see, here we go. So here, this paper right here, you can download this Word document and you'll have access to the thesis statements annotated bibliography. And then on the March 7th, you have this paper 2 document. So that's going to be that whole chunk of a lot of documents that I just decided to put into one to make it one document since I was passing out several papers that day. So you have those right there. And then also you can scroll down and here's the annotated bibliography supplement. So I have those open right here so we can look through them, and we'll be referring to them throughout this presentation. And I want to show you that if you initially open paper 2 documents, what you're going to have to scroll down at first, you'll see this first part is going to be the all the points for paper 2. So the total is 250 points, but there's a whole bunch of different components that make up that 250 points. The first part you want to look up here is that annotated bibliographies due March 19th are worth 50 points, 25 points each. How do you get those 25 points per annotated bibliography? You scroll to the second page and you see that you need all of these different parts: the bibliographic information, the summary, the assessment, the reflection, the formatting. You need to also look out for language, and then you also need to include a copy of the article. That equals 25 points. And there's some explanations about how to do those different parts in this document. If you're opening it up, what it's going to look like, you're going to see the thesis statements first. Just scroll on past that and go down to the second page, and you'll see information about summary, assessment, and reflect. So that's going to be the biggest portion of your assignment, because it's worth 15 points. You can say each of those parts is worth 5 points, and there's a little bit of information here about each one, but there's a little more information here, so you can kind of see what you need to do exactly to meet those different standards. So I just want to point that out to you, that between the annotated bibliography as in rubric and the paper 2 documents file, and these instructions in the thesis statement annotated bibliography file, that gives you a lot of the information that you need. But there is some extra information here in the annotated bibliography supplement, and I am going to go over that in a little bit. I also want to point out to where these documents are in the Living Reader. So if you're in the Living Reader, you can scroll past until you start seeing yellow and finding the kind of the pages that are going to give you that helpful information. So here it's going to be annotated bibliography. You can scroll down. It's that same second page that's in this document. So it includes the same information. It's a exact copy of that. I'm going to keep scrolling down, see if we can find and sure enough, I scrolled down until we could find the annotated bibliography rubric, and here we are, and we can see those different points and how they add up. Let's keep scrolling, and then let's see, we can go until we get to the annotated bibliography supplement. So we can see that's here. We've got all that information. It's going to help us understand how to write that annotated bibliography. So I want to start kind of as like our first point of contact is going to be this rubric, because that's going to tell us, we want to know those points so we can understand how to meet that criteria. So again, it's 25 points. We're going to write 2 annotated bibliographies for 50 points total, 25 points for each annotated bibliography. So that means that the first part is you're going to include an APA citation that is formatted in the same way that the citation will appear in the references section of the paper. So if you want to think about how to do that, one resource is going to be this APA Citations Basics, and you're going to include that correct APA citation. There's an example of a correct APA citation from the sample that is included in the annotated bibliography supplement. You've got that right there. And then also you can look and find, here's another example of an APA citation. If I'm looking at the annotated bibliography that was handed out week 7. So it gives you that example so you can kind of see, that's what the APA citation looks like. If you need some extra instructions, like you can use the resources that I've suggested in this slide here. So that's if we have a correct APA citation, we get our 3 points. It's great. That's met. The next part is going to be a summary. And what I've written here, number 5, for 5 points, is going to be demonstrates a clear, accurate, and complete understanding of the paper, does not violate plagiarism guidelines, and uses own wording. So that's some of the criteria that you're going to be following. The other criteria that you want to think about following, I'm not going to read it out here, but if you want to go look at the paper that has that information, you can just go look at the thesis statements or the annotated bibliography portion of this handout that was passed out, and find that summary, what it says, what some of the questions you can use to help guide your thinking when you're writing the summary portion of your annotated bibliography. And what I've done in the Annotated Bibliography Supplement is I have this summary where you summarize the article. And what you can see here is that I've highlighted it yellow, and there's 2 sentences in which I describe the article. The next part is going to be assessment. So that means that you are going to, we're looking at the rubric right now. Again, this is on the second page of paper 2 documents that was given out week 7, day 2. And the criteria for those 5 points is it demonstrates a thoughtful academic understanding of the relevance of the article and does not violate plagiarism guidelines and use his own wording. So that's also another important part. So again, if you're not sure exactly what that means or how to fulfill that requirement, you can get a longer description of it right here. But that just means like you're thinking about whether or not it's a credible or useful source. And there's an example of that, of assessment in here. The example that I wrote about the Horowitz article. And there's also the document that was passed out week 7, day 1, also includes an assessment. It doesn't include a reflection, which is an important part of your annotated bibliography, because that's how you're applying it to your own writing. So you're thinking about, wait, how is this useful? And that's a valuable part. This is a part where you can say, you can include opinion. That's fine. You can make this part a little more informal. That's totally fine, because what you're doing is you're really connecting and thinking about how you as a writer are going to be using it. And I've included that here in the example that is the Annotated Bibliography Supplement. And it's going to, like it says, it can say like, oh, it's useful for these reasons. If you're saying, well, this isn't useful for my paper, it's probably not a good article to be using. But again, it can even be useful for your paper if you're analyzing it critically and thinking about what its weaknesses are or something like that. So, or looking at the other side or something like that. That can be an important strategy when you're giving an overview of a topic, as is the goal with this paper. So you've got those 3 parts, or those 4 parts actually. You've got the bibliographic information, the summary, the assessment, and the reflection. They're all shown in this example. And I remade this sample because their sample that was included in the first document that I handed out, it only included the first, summary and assessment. It didn't include the reflection. So I wanted to give you that so you can see how that looks and see what it's looked like to really think about the writing. So make sure that whatever you've written, whatever you're submitting, it has the bibliographic information, it has the summary, it has the assessment, and it has the reflection. Also, of course, you're thinking about the formatting, you're thinking about the language. So, using good grammar, using good spelling, things like that. Again, with the last part, you can use those I statements. That's totally fine in this part because you're thinking about your own writing process. And then, but still try and keep a lot of formal language, writing conventions. The last part that I've included in this rubric is you need to include an article. So you need to include a copy of the article and submit that as well. So I want to look at submitting this. So those are the different parts that make up your annotated bibliography. So if you want, go ahead, read this, take your time with that. But one thing that I want to talk about is submitting it. So in the Annotated Bibliography Supplement, I've included directions about submitting the document. So what it says right here, I'm looking at the second page, kind of partway down, it says submitting the document. So you're going to upload it on Blackboard. It will be the Turnitin assignment titled Paper 2, Corporate Social Responsibility, Revision 1, and the folder titled Assignments. A screenshot where to submit it has been pasted below. So this is where you're submitting your annotated bibliographies. So you're not where you're submitting the articles. So that is, I'm just saying that, and I realized that having the paper 2 corporate social responsibility revision 1, it might be a little bit confusing, but there's a lot of reasons why I chose to do it this way. And if you'd like to talk to me about that, definitely come by office hours, definitely make an appointment with me. I'm totally happy to talk about it, and describe some of my rationale behind why I chose to have students submit it in this way. So this is where you're going to be submitting your annotated bibliographies. So the document that's going to look not colored, but it's going to look like my sample that has the bibliographic information, that's going to have the summary, the assessment, and the reflection. So it's going to have those 4 parts to it. And it's going to be in this part. So here's the screenshot. So paper 2, corporate social responsibility, revision 1, where it says, please submit your annotated bibliographies here in a single document. You're not allowed to upload multiple documents for a single assignment and turn it in. So that's why I said just put in both in the same document and upload it. And so let's look, I'm going to go to Blackboard. So right now we're in course documents. We want to go to assignments. And if we look at the assignments portion of Turnitin, we can find that there is this document, Paper 2, Corporate Social Responsibility, Revision 1. Please submit your annotated bibliographies here in a single document. Click on View Complete. And, oh, well, because this is a student preview mode, I can't go forward with it, but I just wanted to show you that. So that's where you submit the actual document that has your bibliographies in it. And then let's look at the next part. So in addition to submitting your bibliographies, the paragraph or so that you write, you also have to submit your articles. And there's several reasons for this. I can talk to you about that if you're curious, but otherwise I just want to talk about the process for submitting the articles. And what you're going to do is you can, I'm going to read the text that's written here in the supplement, and it says, please hand in paper copies of the article or submit copies of the article online on Blackboard. There is an assignment created for submissions. If you use the option of submitting one of your articles from the anthology, then I ask you to make a note of that somewhere in your submission, but don't worry about it too much. So I'm showing here's a screenshot that has the annotated bibliography articles. So please submit the 2 articles that you use in your annotated bibliographies here. You look at it on Blackboard, and here it is. Click on it. Let's see. Okay, yeah, it'll let me go through it, but what you want to do is you want to submit your articles here. And there's a few different ways you can submit them. You can upload a PDF of the full text. You can also upload a Word document, like if you copy all the text and paste it, so long as it's like legible and I can follow it and there's not weird formatting that causes it to be illegible or like confusing, you can upload that. Another option is that you can upload a document with hyperlinks in it that goes directly to the full text of your article. If I need to sign in through SDSU libraries, that's not a problem. But if I need to sign in to another account that I don't have, that is a problem. So just make sure it's something that I can sign into. So that's going to be kind of the process that you're following. Make sure, again, look at this rubric and make sure that you're following these guidelines. So it's bibliographic information. I've got these 4 parts right here: the bibliographic information, the summary, the assessment, and reflection. Make sure you have 2, not 1, but 2 annotated bibliographies that include these 4 pieces of information clearly in there. You're also thinking about the formatting, you're also thinking about the language, and then you're also including a copy of the article. So you're submitting the writing and the article separately, but that's important. But just think about that, and keep those 2 compartmentalized, and you'll be fine. You'll get those points. Another thing I want to mention that I didn't mention in this explanation so far is about the article requirements. So I made notes about this in the supplement, and my original rule was both articles have to be from the databases. And then I decided to bend that a little bit to give some freedom so that if you wanted to, you could use one of the articles from the anthology that we hadn't gone over in class. So that means the Duhigg and Barboza, the Knudsen article, the Schlosser article. So those are the articles about manufacturing of iPads, Starbucks coffee, and also slaughterhouses. So we've got those 3 articles that are longer, that if you read those and want to use those, you can use one of those as an annotated bibliography, but not 2, because we still want you to get the experience of going into the databases and having to find articles from the different databases. So this is going to be the process and like the steps you need to take so that you are successfully submitting and completing these annotated bibliographies. The hope is you're reading these articles, you're understanding them, you're thinking about them, and applying them to your writing. So hope this all makes sense, and best of luck with writing your annotated bibliographies.